Josh with the Firearm Blog. You may be wondering why I'm standing here at night looking all LARPy and tactical. There's a reason for that. Recently, Good Nite Gear reached out and asked if I wanted to review their NVG50 night vision monocular. So I said yes, and so they sent me out a whole box full of stuff, including the NVG50 and this bump helmet. Now, the thing about night vision, it's a huge force multiplier, but it's also a pretty huge hit on your bank account. A decent night vision, even a monocular, can cost, $3,000 to $5,000. The NVG50, on the other hand, only costs $500, and then this bump helmet is only about $100. So for around $600, you can have a workable night vision setup. But the question is it any good? So of course, this is a digital night vision monocular. It's not an analog one, which brings the cost down and has certain pros and cons. The con, of course, is that it's not going to be as high quality as analog night vision, but there are some pluses as well. If you're a noob like me, you're not going to accidentally blow out a tube by exposing this to daylight. This you can use at any time. You can also record video through it. You can record 4K video in 1-minute increments, which is a nice little plus. And there are different modes you can play with, like there's a green mode, there's a black and white, there's a blue mode, there's a simulated color mode, which I find just looks weird. I tend to just stick to the black and white. I found that works the best. So I spent about a week roaming around the yard in this thing, just kind of getting used to it, chasing the cat around, stuff like that. But this is the Firearm Blog. And so the question is, can you actually shoot a gun at night while wearing this thing? Fortunately, my friends at Meprolite recently sent me the True Vision SR, which has a night vision mode for what they call passive aiming. So you have two kinds of aiming with night vision. You have what they call passive aiming, where you're aiming through a red dot or some sort of other optic, and then you have active aiming, where you have an IR illuminator, where you paint a dot on a target, just like a laser pointer. So I want to try the passive aiming with the True Vision SR. Now, the night vision mode it has on it, you hold down a button, it dims the reticle so it doesn't blow out in your night vision, right? So it doesn't just look like a big blob of white. You can actually see a crisp, clear reticle. I also took out my, this is my Glock 19 with an Imperium 9C slide on it, and then the Meprolite MPO-DF on the absolute lowest setting. So I took a night stroll out to the woods to my shooting range out there and took aim at some targets to see what would happen. So I was about 20-25 yards away before I could finally see my targets clearly, so I raised my AR and shot a few rounds. Interesting thing that happened is after the first couple of rounds, my night vision went totally blurry. And I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure if there was like impact on the lens that just made everything go wonky, but it took a few seconds to get reacclimated, and then I made a few more shots successfully. I suspect it was probably a skill issue, just not knowing how to interface all the hardware correctly. Then I took about another 10-15 paces forward and fired with the Glock 19, so that put me about 10 to 15 yards away, fired a few rounds with the Glock 19. I went back out the next morning to check and see how I did. They weren't the tightest groups I've ever shot, that's for sure. But I did hit the evil werewolf and the evil clown, and so I'm satisfied both of them would have been dead. So something important to understand about night vision is that this thing right here is merely an amplifier for available light. So the night I went out and shot, it was a bright full moon, so a fairly kind of bright night. I mean, dark enough you couldn't see with your naked eye, but it did make looking through the night vision a lot easier. Now, for a really dark night, they have this IR illuminator up here, and what that does, it's basically a flashlight that's invisible to the naked eye. So you can't really do any kind of passive aiming with the IR illuminator on, because it screws up the focus. You can't really see both the target and the red dot at the same time. So the IR illuminator needs to be off for passive aiming, which is a pretty big disadvantage. Now, if you had an IR illuminator on the gun itself, then that would probably be a different story. But if it's a super dark night, you're probably not going to be able to hit a target successfully. So that's something to understand going in. But I have to say, for $500, we'll say $600 the bump helmet, I'm pretty pleased with this setup. I can see pretty clearly at night. If I have the IR illuminator, even a very dark night, I can shoot a gun with it. I have successfully hit targets at night wearing this getup. So I have to say, for $500, not terrible. Now, would I use this in like a combat situation? Well, I hope I'm never in one. But yeah, if you truly think you're ever going to be in some kind of dark combat situation, I would definitely spend a lot more on your gear. But if you just want a night vision set to play around with at night, maybe try out some night shooting, maybe like for airsoft, riding side-by-sides or four-wheeler at night, worth checking out. So check that out. That's Good Nite Gear, goodnitegear.com. And stay tuned to the Firearm Blog for our full review, which we'll have out soon.